Hello my fellow YouTubers, it's me, Trijosh again, and right now this is after my reaction to Darkest Desires by Zarko and Dehusta, which I'll put on the eye icon up there. For now we're gonna react to this one. It's called Thomas Connor and Wally Frank's exclusive studio archives number 3, Bad Facts and Theories, by SuperHorrorBro Mike. Subscribe to this dude, he is an absolute legend and an extreme awesome guy to play. You get what I'm saying, guys. You get what I'm saying. I checked out number 1 and number 2. Number 1 was Sammy Lawrence. Number 2 was Susie Campbell, aka the Bad Alice Angel. So we're gonna check this one out. Joey 2 Studio, Thomas O'Connor, Wally Franks. Explain. So let's get started, guys. Alright, guys. Add pause right there to make sure everything's okay, and let's start.
Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and this
Hello.
is episode 3 of the Joey Drew Studios archives, a recap of each and every character from the world of Bendy and the Ink Machine, ahead of the release of its follow-up, Bendy and the Dark Revival. In previous videos we tackled Sammy Lawrence and Susie Campbell.
Yes.
Today we take a look at an unlikely duo, Wally Franks and his part-time boss, Thomas Connor. So sit back, relax, and let's once again return to the inky halls of the studio.
Who was Wally Franks?
Wally Franks was a handyman at Joey Drew Studios. He seems to have been employed since the early days, with an audio recording from him first dated March 5th, 1933. Wally worked to maintain the building, keeping the power on and the floors clean. However, we are constantly reminded via his audio logs just how lazy Wally could be. If it was a way for him to avoid a job, he'd take it.
Guys down in the warehouse get to play games all day while I'm stuck cleaning up after them. They keep locking themselves out of their own back room. So I says to them, look guys, I says, you're smart, right? Here's an idea. Why not make these games to knock open the door if you win? It'll be fun for you guys, and it saves me the trip down here every day.
According to the novel Dreams Come to Life, Wally even transformed his office into a home away from home, so he could put his feet up in comfort between jobs. So this handyman liked to make sure his life was as relaxed and easygoing as possible, doing the bare minimum to get by unnoticed. If anything got too heavy, he would break out his famous catchphrase and bail.
I'm out of here.
This began to change with the arrival of gent worker Thomas Connor.
Who was Thomas Connor?
While it is unclear whether Wally This began to change with the arrival of gent worker Thomas Connor.
Yeah, sorry you guys get to hear it because of the catchphrase, I'm out of here. Yeah, put that in the comments below if you made this far, I'm out of here. Anyways, Thomas Connor.
While it is unclear whether Wally Franks was an employee of gent, it does seem likely, as the gent with everything from electrical boxes to elevators.
Sorry about that, what you saw, okay. Okay, this time we're gonna get to serious, so yeah.
While it is unclear whether Wally Franks was an employee of gent, it does seem likely, as the gent company provided the studio with everything from electrical boxes to elevators and the staff to keep them running smoothly. What we do know is Thomas Connor was a more senior employee stationed to oversee maintenance during the installation of the ink machine.
Whoa.
This would place Connor's arrival at the studio roughly around the time Bendyland first went into production in the year 1940. What some people miss is the fact that while Joey Drew came up with the concept of the ink machine, it was Thomas Connor who managed to actually bring that vision to life. More on that later. Despite working as a senior engineer at the studio, it is clear Thomas Connor was deeply bothered by his employer's lack of care towards utility maintenance. When listening to Connor's audio logs, he shows constant concern for workers' safety as a result of Joey's corner cutting and penny pinching attitude.
If Mr. Joey Drew keeps cutting corners like this, someone's sure
my god.
Thomas Connor immediately took a disliking to Wally Franks and vice versa. Something of a power struggle seemed to ensue.
Wally and Thomas, the rivalry.
So why did such a toxic rift form between Wally Franks and Thomas Connor? Well, this rivalry stems from several different reasons, the first being a difference in character. Wally Franks was generally a nice, friendly, amiable guy. However, he was quick if anybody challenged him or his work. He, as mentioned before, enjoyed the easy life. On the other hand, Thomas Connor was a gruff, no-nonsense hard worker, with expert engineering skills gained from working on planes during the war. We can see how their polar opposite personalities clashed in this conversation between the two in Chapter 3.
You know, this sounds harder than comparing earwax to beeswax.
Look, it's not that difficult. Just keep an eye on the gauge.
Look, pal, if you think I'm doing my job and yours,
I'm out of here.
We also get the sense that Connor spoke down to Wally Franks on a regular basis and made him feel beneath him. During Boris and the Duck survival, more insight into the pair's relationship can be gained. Let's hear both sides of their story.
So here's my beef with this whole jet thing. I went to school, yeah, that's right, me, star student of Brickmore High. I know my potatoes. So where's this Mr. Connor get on telling me what to do?
If there's one loose bolt around here, we're gonna have a whole mess of trouble. And wouldn't you know it, that Wally guy is one loose bolt. He keeps the floors clean, he says. He didn't sign on for no science project. All I know is someone needs to keep these pipes maintained. And it can't be a slacker.
The Ink Machine connection.
Both Wally Franks and Thomas Connor are heavily tied to the Ink Machine, and so its creation is key to their backstory. When reading the Joey Drew Studios Employee Handbook, we come across a top-secret document detailing quality of life for the Ink Machine itself. This article explains how staff were explicitly told not to interact with the Ink Machine and to alert Thomas Connor if repairs were needed. Wally Franks was the only staff member allowed to clear up any ink leaks and spillages around the studio originating from the machine. Knowing what we do about the dangers of this living ink, it seems Mr. Drew had very little value for Wally's safety. Something that was already confirmed in the game, as Wally recalls how key members of staff were required to hand over a personal item for a strange ritual Joey was performing. A ritual we now know tethered their souls to the very ink within the great machine.
I think he's lost his mind, but hey, he writes the checks.
Joey Drew versus Thomas Connor.
While on the topic of the ink machine, let's turn our attention to the circumstances of its creation. Joey Drew was developing a new venture with amusement park designer Bertram Piedmont, a colossal wonder unlike the world had ever seen before.
Bendy Hell.
Joey wanted to fill this park full of mascots from his Bendy cartoons. However, these were not envisioned to be mere workers in suits, rather living, breathing cartoons brought to life via the miracle of science. However, Joey knew nothing about science or the practicality of realizing such lofty visions, so he approached the Gent Company, who assigned a promising staff member called Thomas Connor to help make Joey's dreams come true.
What started as a machine to simply mold life-size figures now seems to be teetering on the edge of magic more than engineering.
Connor did as he was asked and designed the machine only to be shut out and robbed of any glory afterwards. This is elaborated on in the Dreams Come to Life novel. He fired me to blame anyone but himself. He still kept the machine, and that's Gent's invention. I helped invent it. He took away my rights, my design, everything. Thomas Connor was another person added to the
That was a really good Thomas Connor impression you just did, Mike. That was pretty good.
long list of people Joey Drew had screwed over, blaming him for the ink machine's first botched creation, Ink Bendy. The ghoulish demon who chases Henry through the halls of the studio was far from the iconic cartoon design Joey desired, and devoid of a human soul to boot. Joey was worried what his investors may think of such a creation.
I realize it was a first attempt, but imagine if the press caught sight of it. Might scare off investors.
The Because of this mistake and a fractured working relationship after Joey stole the rights to the creation of the ink machine from under Thomas Connor, the stern engineer was promptly fired and left the studio with his fiancée at the time, voice actress Alison Pendle.
Life after the studio.
After being fired in 1946, Thomas and Alison were married on February 23rd, 1952. Despite blood, the couple actually invited Joey to their wedding, which he declined. However, despite the studio in 1959, Joey seemed to keep close contact with a handful of his old employees, namely Wally Franks, Thomas Connor, and Alison Pendle. Wally Franks wrote a lengthy letter to his former employer, stating that he had settled down in Florida with his wife and grandchildren. It seems he formed his own handyman company, imaginatively titled Frank's Handyman Service. Alison Pendle, now Alison Connor, seemed to have been quite a success as an actress for Archgate Films. Her mom sounded like a broken man after losing his greatest creations to Joey. Alison even mentions how someone stole one of her husband's dusty inventions from the old studio. Could this refer to the ink machine's prototype now in Joey's back room, or perhaps the seeing eye tool given to Henry in Chapter 5? The strangest thing about these letters is why they exist at all. Why would Joey write to his ex-employees? It's so out of character from a man who normally spoke to people when he needed something from them. I personally believe this contact was maintained because Joey Drew did require something from his old workers. He needed both their souls and their silence.
The fate of Wally and Thomas.
Wally, Alison, and Thomas all had great knowledge of the inner workings of the ink machine. Most people at the studio had no real idea as to its real function. They were told it was installed to provide the studio with the finest quality ink possible, a blatant lie. However, Wally Franks had experienced the living properties of this ink and its effect on those who came into contact with it. And Thomas Connor eventually became involved in the human experiments alongside Joey in his pursuit for fame and fortune. He had secret meetings with Joey in the depths of the studio's sewer system, as commented on by Jack Fain.
Speaking of which, I saw Mr. Drew the other day. He was meeting with that Connor fellow holding some papers. Why they want to meet down here is beyond me.
He felt like he was losing his humanity with every pipe he put in. Realizing what Joey's endgame would be.
At first you feel that bad pain in your gut, that you're doing something very wrong. But after a time, the dust settles, and Joey's played his cards. You just learn to go with it.
And Joey told him he would procure souls in order to avoid another Bendy incident and properly bring his cartoons to life.
Claim that your failures are because these things are soulless? Then damn it, we'll give them a soul. After all, I own thousands of them.
Connor was culpable every step of the way, and his wife Alison was also aware of what was going on, as we can tell from her reactions in the Bendy novel. Connor was culpable every step of the way, and his wife Alison was also aware of what was going on, as we can tell from her reactions in the Bendy novel.
Sorry you didn't get to hear that.
Joey wanted to keep these people quiet in order to avoid a scandal and allow him to continue his ink machine experimentation in secret within the walls of his own home. With this concept in mind, everything points to this unfortunate couple visiting Joey at his apartment and becoming the latest victims of his twisted endgame, reborn within the ink machine's chaotic world as Tom Boris and Alison Angel. It's hard to tell whether Wally Franks ever returned to meet with Joey and ended in a similar fate, trapped back inside the cartoon realization of the studio. Old theories point to him becoming the friendly variant of Boris who aided Henry on his quest, and while a great deal of evidence does point to this being the case, it now seems far more likely that this Boris is actually the studio errand boy, Buddy Lewick, the central protagonist of Dreams Come to Life. So perhaps Wally Franks did finally get out of there. And that brings us to the end of episode 3 of the Joey Drew Studios archives. If you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more horror related content, and I will see you on the next video.
Wow, that was pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, we all know that Tom was Thomas Kelly and Allison was Allison Angel, but I don't know what theories. But sorry guys, I can't talk as much. But I don't know who's actually Boris, Wally Franks or Buddy. But only time will tell. Maybe the Meekly will tell us. Well, but God knows when. But for now, that's my reaction to the number 3 archives. I'll put number 1 and 2 in the description below if you want to check them out for yourself. And yeah, that's it. So SuperHorrorBro, if you're watching this, good job. I really love it. Once again, this is TJ, you know where it is. Tristan CJ Williams, aka Trijosh, signing out.